Welcome to Local Everywhere. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Sarah Rutledge Fischer, and she's an artist, and she was uh, awarded Artist of the Month in Mobile, Alabama. I'm sorry if I screwed that up, but uh, Sarah, tell us what you do and how you won the award.
Thank you. Well, first, you did a great job. It's spelled just like mobile phone, but it's been around longer than mobile phones and it's pronounced mobile. And
Mobile.
but no one knows that unless you live down here. And it was the Mobile Arts Council, which is the main arts and cultural education organization that works with the city in Mobile, Alabama. So I'm an artist. I'm actually also an attorney and a mediator and a writer because I guess a creative person just can't wear one hat. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about the artwork I've done for the Mobile Arts Council because they are a phenomenal organization down here. And I know some of your viewers aren't familiar with the area. And then just my work in general. Do you want me to go one way or the other?
Whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about the area and the work I've done for Mobile. I live on the other side of Mobile Bay from Mobile. So Mobile sits right on the bay. It's a port city, and I live on the other side of the bay in the Fairhope Fish River Foley area, which is almost to the beach, but far enough away that when it's summer and beach season, we're not bogged by all the tourist traffic.
Mhm.
And I have a really strong relationship with the Mobile Arts Council. I've been working with them in various capacities for years and art shows and other projects and different community organizations and boards. And over the past couple of years, they've been doing what a lot of cities have been doing, which is taking those big blocky gray or green gray utilitarian electrical utility boxes on the street everywhere in downtown and commissioning artists to use them as a canvas and submit designs to paint or have printed and wrapped onto the utility box. And so I submitted a design to the Arts Council back in the spring. And I ended up with this great location. I got to pick between a few that's just across the street from the federal courthouses. And that, right in the just outside the main walkable downtown, but just really beautiful location. And I created a design there that because I started in July and it gets very, very hot down here in July. Um, I could only work on for a few weeks before the paint started drying on my brush.
Oh boy.
Yeah, hit the metal. So I had to put it on hold for a month until it cooled down enough and then finished it. But it's beautiful. I completed it in November, and it is pretty typical of a lot of my artwork. It is really highly saturated in color, and it has a very kind of definitive outline on certain of the shapes and forms, but it's an image of a very stylized woman with curls of blonde hair piled on her head, looping around, and she's blowing some billowing, sparkly wind that's coming out of her her breath.
Mhm.
And the wind um, travels around the box. So if the front of the box is her blowing the wind, then that the billowing, sparkly silver comes around the side. And as it goes up the back side of the box, it starts to turn kind of an orangey yellow that kind of is more reminiscent of smoke in a fire, where the smoke is infused with that orange red light of the fire. And then as it comes up the box, the back side of the box and wraps around the other side, it changes and becomes more yellow gold, actually kind of this tone of yellow gold, and then becomes part of these billowing curls of her hair that then wraps back around. So there's this real movement of line and motion and shape. And then around the box, interspersed in these billowing spirals of wind and breath that turn into smoke and then hair, are honeybees. And I used to keep bees. I have a great fondness of and way too much knowledge about bees. Don't get me started on them, or I will share all sorts of interesting bee facts. But around the box are bees that are flying, that are crawling, that are resting, and so it's very like I said, it's very bright, it's very colorful, it's very cheerful and highly pigmented, but it also, for me, is layered with meaning about the breath of inspiration, but also the breath of creativity, and then the responsibility of us as humans, as people who have creative minds and energy, who move into the world and change things from one state to another, whether it's a blank canvas to a painting, or a tree to a pile of wood, to paper to a milk carton that can't be recycled into dumpster trash. You know, we have that power in the world, and how we use that breath of inspiration, that movement of change and creativity that we put out into the world, is part of the world. We're not separate from the animal kingdom. We're not separate from the world as a whole. And so our inspiration feeds the world, which is, you know, the bees that are resting on her hair and flying in the bright, sparkly, nurturing, incandescent kind of breath. But as it goes around to the back and it starts to be fiery, there's kind of a reminder before it turns golden again, that when we are careless, or when we are selfish in our consumption instead of creativity, that we can impose something on nature that can be harmful, and that in turn then harms us as it comes back in these cycles of nature.
How long have you been interested in the arts?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think like a lot of creative people, I was always creating, writing, drawing, painting, playing creatively as a child. But I think also, like a lot of people who ended up not being in the arts, I had some experiences in school that made me think I didn't get to choose this path. So I loved art. I pursued art. I did a lot of art in high school. I took an AP art class, but I went to a very small school, and there were 52 students in my graduating class. And in my mind, Jenny Wilson was the artist. And I didn't think, and I could be an artist too. She was the artist. So why would I get to be an artist? Certainly not her fault. We're still friends. She's amazing. But, and she's a mental health practitioner. She's doing great work of different kind of creativity in the world, and still creates art in her own. But I didn't know anyone in my community of my parents' friends, my friends' parents, the adults I was exposed to, who had a creative career that wasn't in that career as a teacher. So I think that growing up, I only knew of one person who was a working artist, and they were a successful working artist, but I was also aware that they had a husband who probably paid the mortgage. Yeah, I had no model for it being a legitimate career path. So I just didn't even consider it. I did art some in college, but I didn't consider it kind of a legitimate pursuit for me. And I worked in theater, and I think that was kind of art adjacent. I could have taken a path towards set design. I had some options there, but I couldn't navigate that. I wasn't ready to be in a space of that kind of project-based income. And it wasn't until I was in law school that I really returned to art. So when I was in law school, and I'm going on and on, so if you want to stop and redirect me, let me know.
Go right ahead.
when you're in law school, which is a 3-year education process, they say that in your 3rd year, you finally have time to add in one thing. You know, maybe you decide to add in like an exercise pursuit, or you decide to adopt a dog. You're finally through the most burdensome, exhausting. It's a cliche, but there was some truth to it. And so that year, in my 3rd year of law school, and I was 32 because I went to law school when I was 30. I said, well, my then husband and I said, let's do something together that we can do together. So we took a basic drawing class at the local art center in Durham, North Carolina. And for me, it was like somebody had turned on the lights or turned on the faucet. I had forgotten how there was the thrill of recognition, of knowing, of that spark of flow that I had forgotten was there for me. And so after that class, I said, well, let's take a figure drawing class. I think maybe I took the figure drawing class by myself. I don't remember. But after that class, I took a couple more. And then I left North Carolina and moved to California to practice law. And I was practicing at a very, very large firm, and it's very much a corporate machine. It's not that particular firm. The entire model of big firm law practice is just the same way. Very demanding, not a lot of mentorship. This was in, and I apologize, there's some workmen above me. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but there was not a lot of mentorship. It was right after Bear Stearns had crashed in it was in 2010. So just very shortly after that, there'd been a lot of layoffs. There weren't a lot of mid-level associates above me to carry that. It was a very hard time to be a junior associate in a big corporate law firm. And it's also just not really my personality, but I just had gotten on this track. I thought it was where I was going to go. I thought it was where I needed to go. And so I've just followed that path. So, you know, and so I was working at a law firm and I was very, very unhappy. I was struggling to fit into the firm socially because it was not always welcome for me to have outside creative pursuits that were much more interesting to me than the 17th decimal point on a civil law.
Oh,
It was high level work, very high status work, very high level work for a new associate, and very desirable to a lot of people. But I just started losing motivation, and I was really struggling. And when you're in that kind of dark space where you're starting to lose connection with yourself, you forget the things that you do connect to. And I was just so desperate for something that felt like mine. And this was the days of meetup.com when that was still going. And I looked on meetup.com, and there was a figure drawing group, just a meetup. You dropped in, you paid $10, I think, and half of it went to the model, or all of it went to the model. I don't remember, at a local art studio that was getting itself established. And every Saturday that I did not have to work, which was once, maybe twice a month, I would be there in the dappled sunlight of this open air kind of hodgepodge studio space, just losing myself in flow as I just drew page after newsprint and charcoal. And I tried some different mediums, but when it comes to figure drawing, my hand wants to do it automatically. I'm moving in this way, and newsprint and charcoal are my go-to. And it was like a breath of air. And so after that, I had a journey of leaving the firm. I had a son, but when we moved here to Alabama, after a little while, when my son was old enough that I felt like I could kind of look up and look around again, I found a local figure drawing group and started going. And they very quickly saw me coming and said, this girl doesn't know how to say no. So they were looking for somebody to start running the administrative side of it, scheduling the models. And I said yes because I knew, and a lot of people with small children will know how hard this is when you're a new mother, your children are, young and still in diapers. It's so easy to keep putting your needs and yourself aside. So I said yes because I knew if I ran the group, if I was the one scheduling the models and setting up the room and playing the music and timing the poses, that I would show up every week and I would not rob myself of that. And so I ran that group for years. I taught figure drawing. I started teaching, and my own art practice just started to flourish.
Mhm. So, what does art, what does creativity, what has it done for you as a person?
Mm. I kind of feel like what hasn't it done for me? To me, creativity is one of the core human needs that we need. After our core needs of being fed and clothed and having a safe place to sleep, when we feel safe and we have enough rest and nurturing, human beings are creative creatures. We need connection with each other, and we are creators. And so understanding myself as an artist back when I was running the figure drawing group and starting to sell, then all of my art was mostly just black and white figure drawings. Starting to sell my art, choosing to call myself an artist was a big shift. I don't have an art school education. I am an artist because I say I'm an artist and because I make art. But it was a journey for me to learn to own that label. And now I'm, 6, 8 years further down that path. And I don't feel so much connected to that idea as I am an artist because that limits it. I paint, and I have been doing textile created art dolls, and I always have 17 other art projects, but I also teach art workshops, which are such a huge joy. And I have a retreat coming up in April that is a 4-day, 3-night, all-inclusive art and story-based retreat where we will be navigating the stories, the intergenerational stories, the often subconscious stories that we carry around with us day to day about value, about relationship to money, about finances. And those words just shut people down because we have so many stories and fears and emotions about them. But I've been working with a storytelling expert, a person who's an expert in holding space and helping people craft their own understanding of their own story. A friend of mine, Laura, and then my friend Rosalind, who is a financial advisor, who is really devoted to um, empowering and supporting people as they learn to not be afraid of financial matters and feel ownership and empowerment in their finances, and a personal chef and yoga and breathwork instructor, Shannon, who is going to be creating all of our incredible gourmet meals and leading us through daily movement and breath work. And we've designed this weekend. It's a 4-day, like I said, Thursday afternoon till Sunday midday. To me, saying just artist doesn't capture the creativity of creating that experience that allows us to come together in connection to turn towards ourselves with compassion and curiosity and start changing some of the stories that move us through the world. So creativity is probably one of the core values I carry, but also I think it informs everything in my life, and it has greatly informed my ability to go inward, understand myself, know myself, that that young attorney self who was so depleted and so absent from her own self, that journey backwards to being fully in myself and learning to appreciate even the parts of myself that I've struggled with in the past and learning how to connect with others, not from where I think they need me to be, but from in my own true self and creativity. It's all intertwined for me. So when you ask me what creativity has done for me, it's everything.
So are you still taking people for your April retreat?
I am. It's called Currency of You. And I believe the dates are April 11th through the 14th. And the website is up currently. It's vickeryventures.com, I believe, but I'll make sure you have the information so we can post it in the notes. But it is a limited group. We are maxed at 12 people. We are
Ooh,
stopping because we could probably fill 40 people. We have enough room to house 40 people in the accommodations, but this kind of work requires people to be really present and vulnerable and open. And so creating an atmosphere where this small group of 12 participants and the 4 or 5 of us who will be, working together and guiding through this, there needs to be an atmosphere of trust and of closeness. So once those 12 spots are booked, we'll be scheduling it again in the fall, I think. So there'll be another option, but not for a while. So I hope that some of your viewers can come. That would be wonderful.
so how can they get a hold of you?
So people can find me at my website, which is sarah.rutledgefisher.com. And I'm sure it'll be in the text of this because I always say that's a lot. It's Rutledge can be a challenge for people, and Fisher it's SCH, which is like the extra Scandinavian consonants of my son's father and his family. But once you have it, Sarah Rutledge Fisher, you can find me everywhere. So if you can find me at my website there, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm on TikTok, but I'm not very active there lately.
Mhm, mhm.
And you can reach out to me through any of those means.
Great. So, final thoughts, Sarah.
Yes.
Do you have any final
Oh,
thoughts?
do I? I thought you were
Yes.
about to share with me your final thoughts. Yes. Well, first of all, I'm just so excited to talk with you
Thank you.
because one of the most joyful parts of being in the arts for me is the way that it brings us together, that it connects us in unexpected ways and makes unexpected connections. So without the arts and these conversations, it would have been really astonishing for you and I to cross paths. And so I'm
Right.
so excited to have this conversation with you. And I'm so excited about the work you're doing with your video series and with the Facebook group and the website going forward. And just also anyone else who's out there, if they watch this video and they think, oh, I really want to know more, but that would be weird if I reached out. I don't want them to feel that way because for me, connection is connection and creativity. What all of this is about and what is important to me. So I'm really thank you for the opportunity to connect with you and to share, I guess, all about my art.
This was wonderful. So
Thank you.
you've been listening to Sarah Rutledge Fisher. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is local everywhere. And if you like this video, please like and then subscribe to my YouTube channel. Sarah, I'm sure that we will talk again on the Facebook group.
Yes,
Thank you. And thank you everybody for listening. Have a great day.